Okay, in section 3.2, we are looking at the eukaryotic cells, all of the organelles that are part of the cell. So cells are going to have these internal structures that are called organelles. One of them is called cytoskeleton. So cytoskeleton, like if you listen to the name skeleton, sounds like what we have inside of us, same thing inside the cell. It's going to help hold the sort of structure of the cell at a time. That's going to be one of its jobs, but it has many jobs. So it's going to support the shape of the cell. It helps position and transport organelles. It's going to provide strength. It's going to assist in cell division. It's going to aid in cell movement. So several organelles are involved in making proteins and processing the proteins. So this is a key thing that most of our cells are going to need to do. So the first thing is the nucleus. The nucleus is going to be where the genetic information is stored. It can be sort of thought of as like the brain of the cell, or like if you're looking at the cell as a factory, it's going to be like the manager of the factory. It's going to be telling the cell what it needs to do, just like a manager at a factory would be doing that with the people there at the factory. So a lot of the things are going to happen in what's known as the endoplasmic reticulum, or the ER, which it's showing you here on the picture. The endoplasmic reticulum, there are two types of endoplasmic reticulum. You have rough ER, which it gets the name because those little bumps that you see on that picture, those are the ribosomes. And the ribosome's main job, we'll talk about in a few minutes, is to take the information that's sent from the nucleus, and it's going to use it to help make proteins or help build the proteins. So that ribosome sitting on that ER, once it's done, it's going to secrete that protein that's not yet finished into the ER, and that rough ER is going to finish assembling that protein. You have smooth ER, and it gets the name smooth ER because it does not have any ribosomes on there. Smooth ER, it's going to be sort of responsible for helping make lipids and things like that within the cell. So, like I said, ribosomes, their job is to link amino acids to form proteins. And all of those little tiny black dots in that picture, those are ribosomes. So in the ribosomes and all of that stuff, we're going to continue to talk about when we get into genetics and how proteins are created. One organelle that wasn't talked about in this PowerPoint here is the Golgi apparatus. That's another one that is involved in being able to process the protein a little bit more. So you had the ribosomes, they help form the proteins. They pass it on to the rough ER, and it gets it further packaged. Then the ER will end up transporting it to what's known as the Golgi apparatus. The Golgi apparatus you can think of as it being a shipping center for the cell. It's going to put the finishing touches on things, modify, store, and then send it out to where it needs to go. And a lot of times when it needs to go somewhere, it's going to use these things called vesicles, which are going to be membrane-bound sacs that are going to hold material. And it will end up shifting that to the outside of the cell or to a part of the cell that it needs to go to. There are lots of different organelles within the cell, and they all have different jobs. The mitochondria, a lot of times, is referred to as the powerhouse of the cell because it's going to supply the energy that the cell needs. It's going to do this again. We'll actually be talking about this in the next chapter, but it's going to be taking sugars that you take in and breaking them down into energy that we can use. It's going to convert it into what's known as ATP. Vacuoles are going to be storage sites for within the cell. So anything that the cell wants to hold onto, like water or salts or any food materials, it will form a vacuole, which is going to be a fluid-filled sac that holds materials. So right there is a picture of a vacuole. In plants are going to have a really large central vacuole that's going to be used for them. Lysosomes contain enzymes to help digest materials. So they're going to help break things down within the cell, and they're also going to, if an organelle stops functioning properly, they're going to break down that organelle and help remove it from the cell. So a lot of times lysosomes are considered the janitors of the cell because they're going to clean things up. So that is what the lysosome is. Another one, this one's only found in animal cells, and that is centrioles. So centrioles, they're going to be found, they're going to be needed for when we go through cell division. It's going to end up being the area where the spindle is going to end up forming, and that's going to end up helping direct the chromosomes during cell division. So, like I said, the centrioles help divide the DNA. I apologize for this. I thought that this was a little bit better, but it's acting really screwy, so you're seeing a lot of the same slides over and over again. So the centrioles are also going to be where cilia and flagella are going to form, and the cilia and flagella are going to be means of locomotion for some cells. So cilia are going to be short hair-like structures on the outside of the cell, and flagella are going to be a whip-like tail. And if we have time after this chapter, I will do a unit on protists, which will end up seeing some of these organisms that have those structures, bacteria and viruses, and the immune system, if we have time after this chapter. Okay, when we talk about plant cells have a few different structures than what animal cells would have. Plants are going to have a cell wall, and animal cells do not. both plant and animal cells have cell membranes, but they both don't have cell walls. Only plant cells have cell walls. Bacteria also will have cell walls, and fungi will also have cell walls. So depending on what the organism is, it's going to have the cell wall made of different things. But like I said, all cells are going to have a cell membrane though. Chloroplast is another structure that plant cells have that animal cells do not. Chloroplasts, and again this is going to come into play in the next chapter, are going to convert solar energy to chemical energy. And so they're going to absorb the sun's light and convert it into glucose, a sugar that the plant will then be able to use to basically run all of the other jobs that the plant needs to do. Or an animal can come along and eat the plant and get the glucose and then convert that glucose into energy that the cells can use. So that is some of the organelles for section 2.